Hey guys, welcome back to Margo Watches Movies. My name's Jake Margo. Tonight we're reviewing episode 6 of Alien Earth. And following last week, which was a bounce back episode for me, I thought that this episode actually continued on the positive momentum. I thought it was another very engaging episode that severely moves the plot forward. There was a lot of big moments in this episode, namely towards the end, and I'll get into that shortly. But overall, this was a entertaining and engaging episode for me. I yet again think Wendy's brother Joe was the weak point, though it wasn't as detrimental as I felt it was in episode 4. I think this was a very strong episode, and I just find him to be a very weak, I don't know, kind of effeminate type of character to me. He's just soft, and maybe this is messed up. Maybe I'm way in the minority here, but I'm kind of rooting for him to get refrigerated, as they say. I hope they fridge him to like give Wendy some added motivation, like really light a fire in her. Because I don't know. I just don't see him being long for this world. He's not the smartest character, and he doesn't seem to realize the situation he's in. So yeah, but we'll get away from that, and we'll focus on everything else that I found to be really, really good, adequate, and even in some points great of this episode. So a couple of the smaller storylines that had some minor resolution. I'm sure they'll build towards something else, but the redheaded hybrid, human synthetic hybrid girl, Neb. She has her memory wiped at the order of Boy Cavalier's right-hand man, much to the behest of Dame Sylvia and her husband Arthur. And this was kind of a point where I felt we're getting into near irredeemable territory for Dame Sylvia, who seems to be kind of the maternal figure for all of these, Neverland children, right? Where her husband expresses these deep reservations about doing this to Neb. And instead of supporting her husband, or at least leveraging the situation, she basically stabs him in the back right next to him, publicly disagrees with him, agrees to do it, and then as the right-hand man's like, so you don't need your husband? She's like, no, I don't. He's like, cool, well, you're fired, to the husband. And she acts all shocked, and it's like, well, what did you think was going to happen? It was a terrible, terrible move as far as like a wife to her husband. It was an absolute backstabbing, betrayal move. But I thought it was gripping, and it kind of shows where she operates in. I definitely think she is more of a company man than she lets on. She has that maternal presence, but there's something a little dark below the surface with her. Self-serving and, this desire to please despite some reservations that she's held. That's definitely been more evident with her husband, Arthur, who has his big spotlight episode tonight, as we soon find out why towards the end. And we have that, and then we have a really, really good scene, two back-to-back really good scenes early on in the episode, where you have Boy Cavalier and the woman of the other corporation negotiating with basically like a mediator of all the 5 corporations at this litigation table. And it was a great scene. I thought it was kind of trying to like hit this like Game of Thrones note of the political, the politics and the kind of the maneuvering that these corps do, and seeing the two big dogs, the two closers, go head to head with each other, the leaders of this corporation trading blows and ego jibes. My company's worth more. I'd trade our earnings any day with yours. Just like all these stuff you'd expect these ludicrously wealthy, egotistical, sociopathic trillionaires to express is done, and it's done quite well in the scene. There's enough layered dialogue. It's not too over the head, but Boy Cavalier absolutely whoops her ass as far as this negotiation goes, and just cleans her. And she's left furious while he's left dancing and giddy like a schoolgirl. And it was the first time that his like just absolute over the top kind of, childish swagger kind of felt, it kind of struck a chord with me where I was like, I see where this character is. Yes, he's a very annoying character, I think. And it's really easy to hate this guy, but there was this appeal where you see why he is as successful as he is within this realm. And it's not just his intelligence, but the arrogance and the confidence in which he negotiated this settlement deal with the leader of the other corporation was actually well done and intelligent. I thought it was good writing. And then it springboards into the next scene in an elevator between Morrow and Kirsch, the two basically robot, henchmen of these two companies. And this was a little less subtle. I think I reference it a lot of times in my reviews, but when you see a show like Game of Thrones and like the layered, weighted dialogue between like a Littlefinger and Varys, I think it seemed like they were hoping to get that vibe, but it turned more into like not so subtle, violent threats towards each other, where they are very much looking forward to the day that they get to physically square off and beat each other to death. And I'm looking forward to that too, because I definitely think they're my two favorite characters in this show. They've had the two best acting performances. The characters have a lot of depth. We haven't quite got the depth we got like with Morrow in the flashback episode that we have with Kirsch, but Timothy Olyphant is such a seasoned veteran of an actor. He's so charismatic as a performer, and he's doing so much with so little in this show, with just the subtle mannerisms and what he says without saying anything, that he has added a lot to this character that I don't think a lesser actor would have been able to. So, I mean, Timothy Olyphant is just absolutely outstanding in this role. I love him as an actor because I love his character of Raylan Givens. And maybe there's some bias there, but I just think he has been truly remarkable in this show so far. And this was another standout episode for him, where we get a little bit more of his motivation without actually learning what is he up to. But we see him kind of knowing what's going on. And you had thought, as he had caught on to the plan with Morrow and blackmailing slightly in the previous non-flashback episode, that he would in some way try to prevent this. But it seems like he escalates it, because he sends his right hand, very eager, lab mentoree, his protege, Isaac, who aptly named himself after Isaac Newton, who's over eager. He has this desire to want to please and show how much more emotionally mature he is than the other kids. He sends him into the lab, unsupervised. And exactly what would happen happens. And it seemed like a really, really stupid character decision on the surface, with me like, oh, am I about to start bitching about bad writing again? But no, I think it was calculated, and I think it was methodically planned by Kirsch to get the ball rolling. And it was just interesting to me, this little domino effect that kicks off, because we know that Slightly wants to take Joe and get him into the lab at the behest of Morrow, who's leveraging his family, holding them hostage, threatening to kill them. And as that all starts unfolding, and Isaac goes into this lab and just gets absolutely annihilated by these creatures. Surely he's dead. I don't know if they can repair the acid to his face and them digging around. It was a very, very brutal death. And as that happens, and then Joe goes to talk with Sylvia's husband, Arthur, the doctor, who's one of the very few altruistic characters in this show who seems to have some sense of morals. He asks him point blank, is Wendy safe here? And one of the things that I didn't necessarily like, it was way too ham-fisted. This is a very, very minor gripe, but the big, subtle turnaround to see the surveillance camera, they could have framed that in a much more subtle way and just trusted that the audience wouldn't need this actor to be like, there's a camera behind me. It's like, yeah, we got it when you zoomed in. That's a minor gripe. Letting us know that he's being watched. He takes Joe and he's like, yeah, no, she's totally safe. He's playing it up. And then he types in on the computer about, no, your sister is definitely not safe. Get on a boat. Here's a boat code. Here's the vitals. I'm going to turn off tracking. And when he turns off tracking, he notices that Isaac's tracking is out of commission. Last known location at the Secure Lab, which is seems to be an ironic name at this point. He stupidly rushes to the Secure Lab, and this is another minor gripe I have. Maybe it's because he felt isolated from being fired. But he runs in there, comes across Slightly, who was just about trying to break in, who is about to give up, and just a gift falls into his lap. Another human-born person to get the alien to hatch and, latch onto his face so he can smuggle him out. The gift falls into his lap from the heavens, and he follows him in. And Dr. Arthur runs in there. He finds the body of Isaac and is trying to drag him out the door, which is stupid. And Slightly behind his back takes an alien egg, opens the door where the alien's eggs are, and it hatches, sensing Arthur in there. And Arthur gets got. I mean, he's not technically dead yet, but he's very much dead. The alien's going to be in him, and we might get a chest burster or something, but he is now a product to be smuggled. And it was, basically two pretty decently sizable character deaths, assuming Isaac stays dead. A lot happens, but the whole time with the reveal that Kirsch has been watching this unfold, going all the way back to that point I was making a few minutes ago, it really... And then Boy Cavalier asking Kirsch, is everything okay? And he goes, affirmative. And it just makes me wonder, what is this guy up to? And it's why I find that character intriguing. What is he playing on this chessboard? What is his role here? Does he want to usurp Boy? Is he just like the Joker? Some people just want to watch the world burn. What is his motivation? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, guys. I'd be interested to know what you think, because I think that's one of the more intriguing aspects of this episode and of the show so far, is just what is Kirsch up to. Moro's motivations are very much clear, and he's still a compelling character, but there's just this mystery, partially due to Timothy Olyphant's performance, but to the writing and the character as well, that just make him a super intriguing character for me. So we kind of end on this cliffhanger of Slightly leaving Kirsch, seeing what has happened. There's a minor scene with Wendy confronting Dame Sylvia about wiping Neb's memories, but besides that, again, I thought this was a really solid episode. I was intrigued. We definitely are starting to hit the stride of the season, and I'm feeling a little bit back on board. Let me know what you guys thought. I think overall, I would probably give this episode a 7.5 to an 8. Yeah, somewhere around there. I haven't settled on it, so we'll keep it there for now. But overall, what are your thoughts on the episode? Did you guys enjoy it? Am I liking it a little too much for your liking? Let me know in the comments below. Give me a like if you like the review, guys. Give me a subscribe. We're getting close to 100. I would really appreciate if you're new to the channel, you're watching a review for the first time. I know I'm new, low tech. I don't do editing, but if you got some feedback, you want to give it to me, that'd be great. But otherwise, guys, thank you for tuning in for another review of Margot Watches Movies, Episode 6 of Alien Earth. And as always, guys, we'll see you next time.